If you have ever walked down a busy street in Johannesburg or Cape Town, you have probably seen a blue and white sign with three simple letters, FNB. It stands for First National Bank. But it is much more than just a place to keep your money. FNB is a giant in South Africa, a bank that has been handling the nation's cash, dreams, and debts for nearly 200 years. To understand South Africa today, you have to understand how its money moves, and FNB is one of the main engines making that happen. This is the story of a bank that started small, survived wars and hard times, and became a leader in digital money, all while holding billions of rands in the palms of its customers. The story of FNB begins way back in 1838. Which is a very long time ago. That was a time when there were no cars, no phones, and certainly no internet. The town of Grahamstown, now called Makenda, was a busy but rough place. People needed a safe place to store their gold coins and paper notes. So, a group of businessmen started the Eastern Districts Bank. It was a tiny operation by today's standards. Think of a single room with a heavy iron safe and a man with a big book writing down every penny that came in and went out. That was banking in the beginning. Money then was physical and heavy. If you were rich, you had bags of coins. If you wanted to pay someone in another town, you had to hire a guard to carry the cash on a horse cart, which was slow and dangerous. Thieves were a real problem. Over the next few decades, many small banks opened across South Africa. They merged, failed, or grew. In 1920, a big change happened. Several of these older banks came together to form the National Bank of South Africa. This new bank had branches all over the country, from big cities to small farming villages. For the first time, a farmer in the Free State could put his money in the same bank as a businessman in Durban. This was a big step forward. It made trade easier. A shopkeeper in one city could write a special paper called a check, and a supplier in another city could take that check to the local National Bank branch and get real money in return. But even in the 1920s and 1930s, banking was slow. Everything was done by hand. A clerk would write your deposit in a ledger, a big hardcover book. If you made a mistake, you had to cross it out and start again. Money moved at the speed of a train or a ship. The bank changed its name again in the 1950s and 1960s. It became known as First National Bank, or FNB. For a long time, FNB looked like every other bank. It had big, solid buildings with marble floors and long counters. Customers stood in long queues to see a teller. The teller would count out banknotes and heavy coins. The bank made its money in a very simple way. People gave FNB their savings, and FNB paid them a tiny bit of extra money, called interest, for keeping it safe. Then, FNB would lend that same money to other people who wanted to buy a house, start a business, or buy a car. The bank charged those borrowers a higher interest rate. The difference between the low interest paid to savers and the high interest charged to borrowers is how FNB earned billions of rands. This is the basic magic of all banks. You put in 100 rand. The bank lends out 90 rand to someone else. That person pays back 110 rand. The bank keeps 10 rand and gives you 1 rand for your trouble. It seems simple, but when you multiply this by millions of customers, you get enormous sums of money. For many decades, FNB was a very traditional, even stuffy bank. It was for white South Africans only for a long part of its history, a sad fact that the bank has since worked hard to change. The doors were only open during working hours. If you needed cash on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday, you were out of luck. You had to plan your money carefully. Then, in the late 1980s and early 1990s, everything changed. South Africa was becoming a democracy, and the world was entering the computer age. FNB realized that the old way of banking was dying. The real revolution for FNB started in the 2000s. A new leader named Michael Jordan took over. He was young, and he loved technology. He looked at FNB and said, "Why do customers have to drive to a bank, wait in a line, and talk to a teller just to move their own money? This is crazy." So he started a massive change. FNB became the first big bank in South Africa to truly bet on mobile phones. They created a simple app. At first, people laughed. They said South Africans will never trust a phone with their money. But they were wrong. FNB realized that almost everyone, even poor people in villages, had a basic cell phone. So they built a system that worked on cheap phones, not just expensive smartphones. You could check your balance, pay a friend, and buy electricity for your home using text messages. This was genius. Suddenly, money became fast. very fast. If you wanted to send 1000 rand to your brother in another province, you used to have to go to a branch, fill out a form, pay a fee, and wait 3 days. With FNB's new app, you could do it in 30 seconds while sitting on a bus. The money moved instantly. This changed the entire economy. Small business owners could pay their suppliers on the spot. Parents could send lunch money to their kids at school. FNB started winning awards. Millions of new customers joined because they saw how easy it was. Today, FNB is known as the most digital bank in South Africa. You can open an account without ever walking into a branch. You just download the app, take a photo of your ID, and within 10 minutes, you have a bank account. You can then transfer money, pay bills, and even apply for a loan, all from your phone. More than 80% of all FNB's transactions now happen outside of a physical branch. That means billions of rands move every single day through the air, invisible, instant, and safe, but FNB also handles serious, big money. They are the bank for large companies and rich people too. If a mining company wants to pay its 10,000 workers every month, FNB handles the payroll. That could be 50 million rand leaving the company's account and splitting into thousands of smaller amounts into workers' accounts. All done automatically. If a family wants to buy a house for 2 million rand, FNB provides the home loan. The bank looks at your income, your savings, and your history. If they trust you, they give you the money, and you pay them back over 20 years. FNB makes most of its profit from these loans. In a single year, FNB lends out hundreds of billions of rands to people buying homes, cars, and starting businesses. They also look after retirement money. If you work for a big company, a part of your salary goes into a pension fund. FNB might be the one managing that fund, investing it in stocks and bonds so that when you are old and stop working, you still have a steady stream of money. Of course, handling so much money comes with huge responsibility. FNB has to follow strict rules from the South African Reserve Bank, which is the country's central bank. The Reserve Bank watches FNB like a hawk to make sure it is not taking silly risks. Because if a giant like FNB ever collapsed, it would be a disaster. Millions of people could lose their savings. That is why FNB keeps a lot of its money in very safe places, like government bonds. They also have to protect every customer from fraud. Every day, criminals try to steal money from FNB's systems. They send fake emails, they call pretending to be bankers, they try to hack into accounts. FNB has a huge army of security experts who watch for strange behavior. If you try to send a large amount of money to a country known for scams, the bank might stop the payment and call you to check. This is annoying sometimes, but it saves people from losing their life savings. In 2023 alone, FNB prevented billions of rands from being stolen by fraudsters. What does money inside FNB look like today? Very little of it is physical cash. Most of it is just numbers on a computer screen. When you check your balance and see you have 5,532 rand and 40 cents, that is not real money sitting in a drawer with your name on it. It is a digital promise. FNB has some physical cash in its ATMs and branches, but that is only a tiny fraction of the total money customers think they have. The rest is electronic. When you swipe your card at a supermarket, the terminal sends a message to FNB's computers. The computers check if you have enough money. If yes, they subtract the amount from your account and add it to the supermarket's account. No physical banknotes ever touch this transaction. It is pure information moving at the speed of light. FNB has also done something very clever with its brand. It built a famous stadium in Johannesburg called FNB Stadium, but everyone knows it as Soccer City. It was the main stadium for the 2010 World Cup. By putting its name on that giant, beautiful building, FNB told every South African, "We are your bank, we are part of your national pride." They also sponsor the National Soccer League. This makes people feel good about the bank, even if they don't understand all the technical details. When a young person sees their favorite soccer player wearing an FNB logo, they think, that is a successful, trustworthy brand. And that young person will likely open their first bank account with FNB one day. Looking to the future, FNB is now experimenting with even newer forms of money. They are looking at ways to make international transfers cheaper. If you want to send money from South Africa to a family member in Nigeria or India, it can still be slow and expensive. FNB wants to fix that. They are also watching the rise of digital currencies like Bitcoin. They are careful not to jump in too fast, but they know that the way we think about money is changing again. The bank that started with a heavy iron safe in a small town in 1838 is now trying to figure out how to manage money that has no physical form at all. In conclusion, FNB is not just a bank. It is a mirror of South Africa's journey. It started with coins and paper ledgers, survived centuries of change, and now lives inside your mobile phone. Every day, FNB moves hundreds of billions of rands from one pocket to another, from a salary to a rent payment, from a loan to a new car, from a grandmother's savings to her grandchild's school fees. It does this quietly, quickly, and mostly invisibly. The next time you tap your phone to pay for a coffee or see the blue FNB sign on a building, remember the long story behind it. A story of trust, technology, and the simple, powerful idea that your money should be safe, easy to move, and always there when you need it. And for nearly 200 years, that is exactly what FNB has tried to do.